So what I'll be doing for the first game is mainly just observing your current state and basically giving you an opportunity to warm up in a way. And then as the stream goes on, I will be becoming more and more critical and yeah, essentially moving to the point where I'll be pointing out every little mistake that you have done to hopefully, by the end of the stream, you'll be in a much, much better position and feel like you've improved on those heroes.
Well, I need to go to your Twitch. And then I need to do this.
Oh, too cheeky. Just subscribed.
Hey, there you go.
Wow.
Have a sub.
Nice. Thank you. Did you sub to the Tactical Gaming channel or the Enermatrix channel?
Enermatrix channel.
Awesome. So, yeah, I didn't know that the subs would come up when I'm streaming on the Tactical Gaming channel, but yeah, that's really cool that they come through. Awesome.
Little test.
Yeah.
Wait,
not sure where the mic could be cutting out. There's no gate on the input.
I think a main problem that I have in like with this account is it takes ages to queue for quick play. Don't know why.
Oh, I know what it could be. It could be that the compressor threshold is maybe... No, that won't be it. I found out that Streamlabs has a bunch of effects that you can add to it, like compressors and...
Oh, I've got a good map for both heroes.
Nice. I don't know how good the Streamlabs OBS compressor is.
Welcome to Rialto.
I'm just gonna wait. I usually feel... Ooh, 17 viewers, 17 people judging the hell out of it. There's a Zen, so I'll probably pick Honor.
Excellent.
I don't know, is he gonna go Zen? Is he gonna go... No, I'll go Honor.
Now, if this last person went Zarya, it would literally be a perfect team comp. Have the have the Dragon Strike and the Grav, the Nano Blade.
Consider only victory. Make defeat an impossibility in
We were playing Open Division Day. Unfortunately, our team didn't make it, and the one tomorrow. So we get 2 free wins. Cool, but like I don't know. They were teams that we were most likely gonna beat.
I like this Ryan, who's just like taking the lead. I mean, automatically I'm judging your crosshair placement.
I like that. Beat me.
You're looking to quickscope here when you should just be hip firing. Now this is a very risky thing. You're pushing ahead of the tank.
I'm just trying to push into this space.
Yeah, you shouldn't be trying to take a Widow 1v1. That's a bad idea. And in the meantime, your main tank died because you were focusing on the Widow. Your main job is healing, so do that. You should also be focused primarily on your main tank. In this case, you have 2 of them. You can heal yourself if you need to, but you could also call for healing from your team.
Well, I need to move around. I can't hit. Oh. I got 2 shots. Can my team be aware, please?
If only you didn't waste your nade.
I didn't waste my nade. I tried to nade him before. When he came round.
You naded your Hanzo.
Oh, my nade. Sorry, I thought you meant my suit for some reason. I'm actually trash at this game.
So the Widow is very likely to shoot you right now. You know that's probably a lost fight, so what you've just done now is just staggered yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, you recognize when the fight is turning and just look to get out at that point. It's unlikely that you, as one Ana, will be able to sustain a fight that's 3v6. You should also be listening for the Reaper.
Kind of upset with my Zen currently.
You're missing a lot of shots that you shouldn't be missing.
I know. Don't know why.
You also should take the opportunity to reload. So reload right now. What you're doing instead of reloading is putting shots into an enemy Widow, which is a very risky thing to do. Maybe it'll work at this rank, but as you climb up, there's going to be very few times where you'll have the time or space to be shooting a Widow. Just focus on keeping your team alive. If you can't see a target, move so you can see the target. You didn't need to use that sleep. I'm going to be quite critical of your ability usage as well, because on your main you are in Masters. So I'm expecting Masters level game sense. So randomly trying to sleep a Zen is not a really useful thing to do.
Why? He's coming behind.
Because if you're attacked by a Hog or a Genji or a Reaper, you'd be wishing you had that sleep. Where's your Zen? Yeah, Zen's in spawn.
Spawn. Oh, please. Dude. Did I not hit that? Oh, there's someone behind us. I haven't used Nano once this game.
So you just use Nano, not really for any reason. Your job is not taking out Ashe in the backline. Your job is keeping the team alive that you just allowed to die for free. So your team losing that engagement was entirely your fault. You wasted the Nano. You tried to 1v1 an Ashe instead of healing your team. Remember, your primary job is healing your main tanks.
Yeah. Is it okay if I turn around, sleep her, then heal up? Because, like, I'm too scared that she's gonna kill me, and then I'm gonna have no hitting at all. I'm just not gonna hit at all.
See, while
Then they did him.
if their Widow happens to be a particularly lower rank than you, or their Ashes, you can take that fight. However, if they're at the same rank as you, they will win that fight, because they've just got outright greater damage output.
Is there a particular way around, like,
Positioning.
your teammates getting in the way?
Positioning. Ana is all about
I feel
positioning.
like either angle I went there, like...
So right now you're exposed on your right hand side to anyone that comes out of spawn.
Victory.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll jump into a custom game and invite you to it to spectate. And then I shall kind of show you about sightlines. Where is Rialto? There's Rialto. Okay, I'll put myself on the attack, invite you to the game. You're in the game. And then I'll put you in spectators. So I'll just show you a bit about... Ana is very much about not just putting yourself in a position where you have good sightlines currently, but you'll have good sightlines in a few seconds' time. So for example here, if our team's pushing up, I have good sightlines now. Now if our teams get into the corner, my first reaction is to move forwards. Because while if they're there, I have good sightlines. As soon as they move around that wall, I don't have sightlines. So what I'm doing is looking to move so that I can move the same distance that they're moving. You know, as they're moving around that corner, I can still see them, still see them, still see them. Whereas if you're all the way back here, and your Rhine or Orisa moves 10 meters to the right, you have to move a greater distance than that to adjust. So, let's say that they're playing in this main area here. As I move backwards and forwards, you can see that the sightlines aren't really changing that much. So I might as well play as far back as I can, where I'm safe and have those sightlines. However, as soon as this payload is getting around the corner, I'm then just look exactly at what I can see. You know, I'm just moving a small distance and I'm seeing so much more. So as I'm moving around this corner, and I'm normally hugging walls, because then I can do things like this, you know, just slip into this area here. And then I can heal them when they're moving around there. And then I might be looking to see our Rhine's about to go over there as the payload's moving around. Let's just see what they've got. Who's over there? Okay, now I know that I can move around here. And if you look here, again, I have this full sight line. So
yeah, and you still have coverage.
Yeah, so I would be playing, you know, this position between those 2 points. Oh, I heard a ding. That means that Pigmister is now following. Excellent. So yeah, at the beginning, what you'll notice is I'm at a corner from there to there, and then for the next section, I'm again at the corner where the section starts in a way.
Yeah.
And when your team is looking to cross the bridge, let's say I want to heal someone over there. If I walk like this, I'm not seeing them until I then turn this corner. Where this is just maths and angles. Whereas if I'm moving around like this, I can then see the target. So often, if you don't have sight lines, rather than walking in a straight line towards a target, it works better to move to the side. So side movement will give you those sight lines. If you look, I've moved about the same distance. And then what you can do is move in a way where your sight lines around here are not actually changing, but your distance is closing.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then you can heal people as they're over there. Now this bridge is difficult because you can't see people. So this is one of the reasons why Ana's jump a lot, because they're really short model. So, you know, if the person's over there, so that's why you're jumping as Ana, mainly to allow yourself to shoot the targets that you're trying to shoot. However, if you're near an edge like this and you're jumping, that puts you at risk of being booped off. So if you're near edges, watch out. I'm normally in the middle, and then if, again, this long section here, from there to there, you're probably going to be positioned, and if I was positioned here, at the corner where the lane starts, I can get shot from all of these positions. And then as I move here, suddenly the enemy has none of those sight lines. So I can just walk along this wall, a small little gap, but look how quickly I cross that gap. And this whole time I'm just safe. The only risk to me is something from up there. And you might be, well, you can't see what's around the corner. Well, you are then, especially in a team environment, that's when your main tank at the front is feeding you info. Because your main tank is here and can see everything. They can tell you where everyone is. What I see a lot of supports doing is almost, I want to know what's around that corner. So they'll kind of push up around like this and then get caught out. You know, they might walk around the corner and then suddenly they're hit by a brig. So look to use your team to get info. But at the same time, you can kind of be intelligent in your guesswork. So if your Rhine is moving forwards, you're thinking, well, he's recognized an opportunity to move forwards. If he's moving back, you're going, heck no. So you can look at what your team's doing, and you don't have to see where the enemies are in particular. But if you see, you know, your team moving around there, you're seeing that your team wants to play its advantage. Again, this point to that point, you're playing, you know, this corner. You can heal your team from a distance. And I have all the sight lines I need. And if I need to get the sight lines, I just move side to side. Most of the time when you're moving forwards towards your team, the problem is if I'm here and I want to heal someone on the other side of that box, I have to move a very large distance so I can see them. Whereas if I'm all the way back here, I have to move a much smaller distance. And this is just maths and triangles.
No, it makes sense. Geometry.
Yeah. So if you're really, really close to a thing like this, you can't see anything. You know, if I'm like there, I can't see anything. one of the reasons that I can stay alive a lot as Ana is I'm just a tiny little character that's kind of just here, and so far it's just difficult to get to where I am. And most of the time I don't know where I am because I'm hip firing. If you shoot, you've got a tracer. You know, the team now knows that their Ana's around here. So a lot of the time if I'm trying to remain stealthy, even if I might miss, you know, 10 or 20% of the shots that I might hit scoped, you've got to think, if they don't know where you are, that can be really useful to you. But also you should try and get used to hip firing as well. The other thing is, if they don't know where you are because you're hip firing, you can throw in an aid for free, and they're unlikely to block it. Whereas if you're here, shooting like this, they know the Ana is here, and then you throw in a nade from the front, they're probably going to block it. So use natural cover and sight lines. Now, for this final section, this was where you got caught out by the Ash, and if I'm over here, I'm a little bit more vulnerable, whereas if I'm here, you know, my sight lines all the time is, my focus is purely on my tanks. I might heal the DPS, you know, if I need to, but let's say I've got flanking Genji that's over there. Unless we're, you know, specifically, if we got, you know, tanks on payload and one of our team is really far off, like Doomfist, for example, they know in their mind that they're not expecting, they're not expecting you to be able to hit them through a million walls. But at the same time, if they're over there, you can move up, and again, you can see how your sight lines expand as you just move up along this wall.
I think a lot of things that I have, like especially last game, is not to sound like rude, but I'm used to having a lot better teammates. So things where they were still behind us just wouldn't occur. Like we'd wipe a team and we'd be moving forward. So I was really torn in what to do, because like as a main tank player, I'd be used to the people behind me just being dead. So I'm not really used to it. Yeah.
So it's one of the reasons why I'm gonna, from now on, kind of recommend very highly that people send me VOD reviews to do, because then they can make sure that, you know, they're really good games. They think there's a really good content in there, but they also know it's got a bunch of stuff in there where they're like, I don't actually know what could have done better in that scenario. So the Ash that was behind you, my response would just be to move like this. You just move to the side and still heal your team. If you try and sleep and then shoot the Ash like this, you notice that what you can't see is that. Yeah. You have no info on what's happening behind you. So what happened is, while you shot 2 or 3 shots into the Ash, your team went from full health to dead. That's how quick things can happen. Whereas if you're facing this way, let's do the exact same scenario, and I will pretend the Ash is still behind me. You might say Ash is behind, and maybe try and sleeper if you wanted to. But the thing is, while you have that sleep available, that Ash is going to know that she can't push you. As soon as she sees the sleep, it's like, oh, the Ana doesn't have sleep, I can push now. And it's the same with a lot of targets. If you have the ability available, you're a lot scarier than throwing out the ability. So, you know, if they're Doomfist, let's say they had a Doomfist behind you, and you just randomly threw sleep and nade at them, the Doomfist were like, well, that Ana has no sleep and nade, and I have 12 seconds where I can just kill her for free. Whereas if you're there refusing to use your sleep, the Doomfist knows that you have that sleep, and if they haven't seen you use nade as well, obviously this is more applicable in higher ranks where they're actually going to be tracking that, because what you find in lower ranks is they're not doing that informed level of thinking a lot of the time. You know, the Ash isn't thinking, what like, cooldowns does the Ana have? The Ash is thinking, oh, there's an Ana, I'm going to shoot the Ana.
That's a lot of things that I find in, like, just playing, because if I play in anything lower than Masters, usually, like, I find that a lot of people wait for, like, ults or a kill, whereas, I don't know, maybe, like, 3.4k plus is, like, more of a cooldown, and then you go, I don't know.
Yeah, it's exactly that as you go up and up in rank, what it takes for people to recognize as an opportunity becomes much smaller. So, you know, in lower ranks, this is why bronze is a really, really difficult rank, because you could get 4 or 5 kills and your team doesn't then think, oh, we're probably going to win this fight. You know, it doesn't matter how many kills you get. The team's mindset doesn't go from, this is a stalemate, to a fight we're winning.
Oh, that's... Yeah, no, that's one of the prevalent things that I found. I don't know. I played a lot of DPS when I was playing in silver with some friends, and I'd get a 5k and my team would refuse to push in because after I got my 5k, I'd die. It's
Yeah.
like, what?
In Masters, it's normally a pick that you're looking for, so normally people are looking for a pick. When you get to GM, it can be cooldowns, and top 500 can be as simple as...
Yeah, we tend to look for cooldowns. Like, especially if we're running dive. Dive is one of those things. That Ana uses their sleep, or nade, she's dead.
Yep. If Brig uses bash, if McCree uses stun, if Ana uses sleep, that's a free dive, because at that point, those characters, that McCree might as well have his flashbang disabled because he doesn't have that ability. So, it's, well, McCree's a difficult target to dive because he has a flashbang. Well, if he doesn't have a flashbang, he's basically just like a soldier that has less mobility, so he's an easy dive target.
Yeah.
So cooldowns change the status of individual heroes. So, yeah, a Brig without bash, for example, is relatively easy to dive. I would, as a main tank, like to bait out their Brig's bash, because then she's a free target. Because if I'm Ryan, and I'm stood here, and their Brig is there and uses bash, it's almost a bit like an anime fight in a way. You've got these two kind of guys faced off, and one of them's kind of bigging himself up and then just punches the other, and the other guy kind of just moves back a bit and then just looks him dead in the eye. It's like, was that all you've got? And then throws his own punches. It's that kind of scenario where the Brig kind of like, yeah, look at me, bash. And then you're as Ryan like, now you got no bash, and I've got a hammer. You just swing, 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 she's dead.
We've started, in Enchanted Armor, we've started playing for being bashed. Like, we know we're going to get bashed. So, Yeti always saves secondary, and then, like, on Zarya, that is. So, the second I get bashed, we usually bubble, and that either does, like, well, one, it keeps me alive, two, it, like, completely blocks a shatter if they have one, trying to combo with it. And it's just really effective, and three gets, giddy charge. I find that's what happens a lot.
Yep, so one last thing for Ana in terms of positioning. The worst possible position for Ana in this scenario is here. Because if you look at enemy sightlines, yeah, all of the sightlines, all the sightlines, all the sightlines, all the sightlines. But also, if you needed to take cover, that's probably your nearest piece of cover. It's not great.
No. Whereas,
if you're positioned, for example, here, where you can just heal your team for free, as well, you can look at this in terms of, as I move back from the window, my sightlines to where I care about don't really change that much. And if I'm here, and I go like this, and I go from complete cover to there, but if I'm kind of back here, so you can play really, really close if you need to, but also, that blocks out. So if I was going to play last point as Ana, probably here, because it's relatively difficult for them to... If you think from the enemy team's perspective, they have very little in the way they can do in pressuring you back here. However, if the Ashe is back here, let's say you were here instead, the Ashe is back there, you're just moving around. You're almost stubbornly ignoring. You're just going, you're not worth my time. Like, go away. Yeah, no. You're just a pesky fly. Yeah, and you just use...
Focus hitting the team.
Yeah, just... Obviously, there's different playstyles for Ana. Mine is I just zone in on my main tanks, and yeah, I just kind of almost like stubbornly refuse to give any attention to these people that are just like, go away, you're pesky, you're not worth my time, I care more about my tanks than you, go away. And I almost force them to overextend, that Ashe then comes forward to try and deal with me, and it's like, oh, okay, now you're in a worse position, now I'll maybe deal with you, or no, I'll just sleep you and run away. Normally I'm not killing targets when I sleep them. I'm just like, okay, now try and find me.